Hello, everybody, and good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are tuning in from. I'm Jeffrey E. Berger, and welcome to my series, Holistic Mental Fitness, where myself and Mupo Entertainment believes mental fitness is the new physical health today. So before I bring on my very, very special guest today, who is Mike Healy, if I may, as a certified holistic wellness coach, I'm really humbled to be affiliated with an amazing group of humanitarian entrepreneurs who are aligned with the only holistic mental wellness company focusing on the microbiome. And some people say, what is that? And that's a great question. This really is the gut, brain, heart, access health, a science that's disrupting the health and wellness industry today, especially when it comes to mental health. Who out there hasn't experienced stress, anxiety, depression, and or even has had suicidal thoughts? And you know what? It's no exaggeration to describe today stress, depression, anxiety, and burnout as epidemics, literally the black plague of our modern times. And this is an interview series that is very near and dear to my own heart because it's about sharing stories of others, opening up conversations from all areas of wellness to help people understand it's okay to talk about mental, physical, and emotional health and share experiences and become informed of alternative options that are out there that are safe and actually work. And what we do is we really provide real solutions to real people who are serious about getting their physical, mental, emotional, and most recently, financial health from a barely surviving to thriving state again. You know, there is no physical health without mental wellness, and they are actually two sides of the same coin. And they're actually vital to coincide together so we can reach our peak potential in this one life that we get to live. And how we feel is not in our head, it's also in our gut. And this is what we do best. So as the CEO and the founder of Abundance and Optimum Wellness, where I personally believe we all should be living in abundance and optimum wellness, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially, especially around finances today. Why? Because this is the number one stressor for most people in the world. We're entering an era where there is massive change and things are changing and happening. And we're here to share this information for those who are out there really looking for options. I'm excited about today's guest. I've been working with him for a little while now, and he's going to bring some really great insight to some really great opportunities, great information for anybody that's interested in the digital currency space that is out there today. And it is growing by leaps and bounds. But before I bring Mike on board, what I want to do is take a quick commercial break and let you know that this TV series is a syndication with Mupo Entertainment. We also have a Mupo Entertainment app that can be found in your Android and your iPhone. This is also streamed to Fire TV, Vimeo, Roku, and it is being considered by Netflix. So we're very, very excited about that. And we'll be right back with Mike Healy. Okay, we are back with Mike Healy, who is joining us from Columbus, Ohio today. He's married to Stacy and is the father of two boys. And Mike has actually been an entrepreneur for many, many years and very successful in the direct sales industry. He's a trainer, a speaker, an educator for those looking for other ways of investing and generating alternative streams of money. Our world of finances is changing, as I said earlier, and people are still not aware of what's really happening today. And they're going to need to become aware of what's happening so they can be well informed, so they can make an educated decision moving forward in this ever changing world. So welcome, Mike, to season 4 of Holistic Mental Fitness Series.
Thank you, Jeff, for having me on here. And just in case my daughter sees this, I do have my daughter's the oldest, and then I have two boys. So my daughter's 26, and then I have two boys, 23 and about to be 21.
Well, thank you for that correction, because when I do my due diligence, I go to Facebook and I try to see where, and I saw the two sons, but I missed the daughter. I'm so sorry for your daughter there.
She looks a lot like my wife in a lot of pictures. So if you're really not paying attention, they're both tall. And so.
Awesome. Well, thank you, and my apologies on that. So before we actually get started with the questions, please share with our viewers who Mike Healy is outside of business. You're, a husband, a dad, and I know that you're involved with a lot of other things as well. So share a little bit about that.
Okay. Let me go back in time just to give you kind of a heads up where I was. Both my parents were school teachers at the school I went to, specifically in high school. And I came from a small country area of Ohio. I kind of actually grew up in what they would label as Amish country, up in a place called Holmes County, Ohio. I grew up there. I wasn't Amish or anything like that. I have a lot of friends and things like that. And I was in high school. I was primarily looking to go into the military. I was really, since I was like 5 years old, wanted to be in the special forces and things like that. And literally my senior year, 3 days before my first senior football game, the summer previous, so that same summer before practice starts, I got into the what they call the delayed entry program, signed up to be in go to the military. And 3 days before my first senior football game, I broke my leg, my femur snapped. I made a tackle. Big guy dove in to help the tackle and broke my femur. They put pins in it, and I got a medical discharge before I even got in the military.
Oh wow!
So I went from it's kind of a unique story in the fact that I had planned the same thing for probably 15 years. That's what my career was going to be. And in a split second, things changed. And so I had to make an adjustment. I didn't know what to do after I graduated. I couldn't go to the military. There was no, I really wasn't a good student. I literally was like a 1.5er. I knew I got passed through high school because my parents were there and pretty much. And but I was always a smart kid, but I just wasn't my gig. And
wasn't your jam. Yep.
Right. And I'd gotten kind of stocky and was working out, and someone invited me to move from where I lived in Holmes County down to Columbus, Ohio. And I happened to be a stocky guy. I'd made the grandfather clause to be able to drink beer when you were 19 years old, before they changed it to 21. And because I was going to the bars every night, they said, "Hey, you're a stocky guy. We're looking for bouncers." Next thing you know, I'm actually running security at the Ohio State campus on gold bars. One of the top guys there, that kind of thing. I had a kind of a skill set that fit right in with it, and ended up, having about an 8 to 10. I think it was about an 8-year career. I started learning how to bartend and stuff like that, and that was it. And it wasn't until I developed obviously every bad habit you can think of. Mostly alcohol. It was all alcohol based, commission alcoholic in the bar business. And then I didn't know what to do with the rest of my life. I knew I was basically burning out. I'd met my wife. So I lived in Columbus. I moved to Dallas, Texas to open a club in Arlington and meet my wife, Stacy, down there of now 20. We just had our anniversary. Would it be 27 years? And
happy anniversary.
Yeah. And she was from Columbus. And I met her in Arlington, Texas at the same
club. Wow.
Yeah, we worked at the same club. And so we come back and and I still, when we came back, I was still in the bar business. And somebody introduced me to some direct selling stuff, networking stuff. And I was like, hey, if I can just make some ends meet, maybe get something on the side going, learn how to do it. The key here, though, is had some adversity massively and figured it out. And I did it becoming an entrepreneur. And basically what I decided to do was take full control over my life and, that kind of thing. I'm 100% unemployable at this point. And I basically have been an entrepreneur now, I would say, probably around 27 years. Work for myself,
awesome.
And and one of the sayings that I heard a guy say a long time ago, and I'll let you jump on and answer the rest of the questions or ask questions, was he said, Mike, there's a significant difference between making a living and having a life.
Yeah,
absolutely. It was something that stuck with me forever because I didn't jump into being an entrepreneur because it was something I was taught. It was just a desire to gain freedom, control my
Hmm.
own shots, and things like that. And through direct selling, networking, regardless of what somebody's past history is, or think about it, it put me around people in a community of people that were fairly like minded in taking their lives to the next level. To do more than what they're currently doing, and that's kind of where we are here today. And I've actually
Right.
been very very successful. It took a while to learn some skills,
Sure.
and but it all has paid out. And I have 3 kids, like I said, and I was able to not miss any of their events. I went to all their football games, all their practices, or whatever they had. you know we traveled the country, traveled the world with our family. And so I wouldn't trade that for anything, the experiences.
And
So that's how old am I? That's 55 years of background.
that's awesome. And first of all, you broke your leg playing football. I broke my leg skydiving. I wasn't going into the military because I went into college, but you talk about this opportunity about living, a lifestyle and having a life, and you're one of the that elite group that had a path that crossed and met somebody that made an impression to make you really think, where most of us went into that typical go to school, get an education, and then go find a nice safe secure job, which we realize today there's no such thing. And I admire people who have been able to have that courage to step out, because I didn't step out till about 20 years ago, realizing what kind of mess we are really in and what kind of opportunities are out there if you think outside of the box, because we're trained to be robots. Do this, do that, get up, go to work, come home, go to bed type of stuff. So I applaud you on that. And so you've had a very diverse career in direct sales, which is no different than being a real estate person or a pharmaceutical rep or whatever. But that's another story in itself. But you were introduced to digital currency, and that picture that I had with you holding up that Bitcoin. I know you have a unique story about being introduced to digital currency. Share that with the audience, because most people, hey, I know exactly where they're coming from and where you were, because when Bitcoin, as a ex-software engineer, when Bitcoin was introduced in 2009, I'm like, no, this is not going to work. This is a scam. It's a pyramid. It's whatever the case may be. But then I woke up, and when cryptocurrency came out, said, I missed the boat last time. I'm going to open up my ears and listen and start getting educated. So go ahead.
So, wow, if we go way back in time, so I was one of the first people to really utilize, when I in my direct selling career, to start using more advanced technologies and softwares,
Right.
like Zooms. Like, I was the first
Sure.
person to use GoToWebinar when it first came out. Like, no one had ever heard of it. No one had ever believed that you could invite hundreds, if not thousands, of people to view all over.
Yep.
It was everything we always did was old school, drive to a hotel or go to somebody's house.
Exactly.
And I watched that thing called the internet start to evolve. And I'm always one of those people that tries to learn something and apply it as fast as possible, especially newer technologies. Like, I'm really really studying AI right now, because I know that's the next major gold rush, and it's going to be bigger than anything we can possibly fathom. And the
Exactly.
genie's already out of the bottle, right? So regardless, you can't
Sure.
put the genie back in. So if you go back in time, knowing what I watched happen um, with the internet and real digital marketing, social marketing, things like that, here comes this thing that's kind of has the same technology style to it, with what they call, and I'm not a crypto expert at all, okay, where they have this thing called decentralized currency, or I kind of look at them more as like digital assets than I
Right.
do a currency. And currency in this day and age is kind of hard to even quantify and think about. And so, looking at that, I started hearing about it. And again, I had the same knee jerk reaction. It's a scam. There's no way that's going to work, and so on. So, you go back in 2010 when Bitcoin kind of officially launches, and for $100, somebody could buy some weird digital thing, and this phantom idea that you're buying these digital things. And for $100, when Bitcoin in 2010 launched at 0.0008 cents, okay, $100 at that price point would have purchased you 125,000 Bitcoin. Well, you think what will happen is the majority of people then watch it, and that thing all of a sudden goes to $1, and they feel like they hit the lottery. But then
Right.
you got people that held, and it went to $5 and $50 and $100. And I actually did a video on this a couple of days ago, showing people you can do it like on what is it, Coin Market Cap or Coin, something like that, where you can track from the beginning, and you just watch that little chart going like this, and it always has these spikes, and then lost about 50%, then a massive spike
Massive spike.
twice as big as what the first one was. And if you track all these and look at these data points, here we are, 13 years later. And now you've got digital currency being decentralized, because people are becoming quite aware that the fib that we have been under for quite some time through a lot of how we pass and pay for things is all smoke and mirrors. And people are getting found out for that. And so people are looking for ways to protect their assets. And again, I am not a crypto expert. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, anything like that. To me, this is something that's probably not going away. It appears to be getting bigger and bigger. You can now, but this was, you got to remember, this was kind of before iPhones and Apple Pay.
Right.
Now you can it's fascinating. You just walk up and tap your phone on something, and it's
exactly
paid for. It's not going backwards. That genie, again, is out of the bottle and running around and smashing things with a hammer, in a nutshell. So that was kind of my history on it. And then probably 2 years ago, I started I wanted to kind of learn crypto trading. So I was part of a group, a community of people, and I paid like a monthly membership to study it and learn it. This was a guy that's out of Florida, did a really, really good job. He would teach us every day. He did live tradings on Tuesdays, and we could see what he was doing. And I learned the signals, but not to the point, and I didn't really pay attention enough to make any money with, that I was making bank with trading crypto. But I understood enough of it, and it just got me into thinking about it. So there you go.
And that's the key here is to be open to getting out of your comfort zone and not be afraid of change, because the world has been ever changing. And if you don't wake up, I like those words, wake up to what's really going on, you're going to be left very far behind. And, I'll share a little bit more about that later on. But we talk about cryptocurrency and, it being something non-tangible. However, there's this new wave of commodity digital currency projects that are out there that are hitting the industry pretty hard. And IX Global is in a very, very unique position. But talk about the commodity digital trading and how that interplays, and it's different than the non-tangible that's out there today, like Bitcoin. It's not something that you actually hold, but it's something that is out there in the cloud. But here, these projects are diversified to different elements of our essential minerals, the unique minerals, and then tangible things that we're looking at: oil, gas, farming, so forth and so on.
Okay, so it'll be easier for people to grasp this by telling the story of how it happened with me. So I get a Facebook Messenger from a friend of mine who's an extremely successful business guy, and he just leaves me a message saying, "Hey, Mike, what's going on? Hey, just wanted to give you a heads up. My wife and I," he goes, not sure what you've been doing with your money. And my wife and I, we were introduced to a crypto mining project that has to do with commodity-backed cryptocurrency. It's first of its kind, and they're backed by things that they take royalties from, things like oil wells, natural gas, gold wells, aluminum, satellite services, commercial real estate, water, beverage distribution, and I know I'm probably missing one or so. And what they're doing is those royalties are adding value and transaction fees, I guess you could say, to these digital currencies. Now, if somebody's doesn't understand crypto mining, the easiest way for me to explain it is you can go buy a Bitcoin as an example, and you would own a fraction or a full Bitcoin, depending, but you can get fractions of a Bitcoin, and that's whatever that price is that's what you own. But you can buy how Bitcoins show up is they have to be what they call mined through digital mining and it's actually this process. And then what happens is the Bitcoin machine makes baby Bitcoin in a nutshell. So I always equate it with the simple story of if you buy the tokens or the coins, the currency, that is like getting the golden egg, whereas the mining process is the goose that's laying those golden eggs. So when he said that kind of piqued my interest too, because I was curious about how that worked. So we have the ability to do is these different projects that are just now coming on board. They've been the company that's launched them is about a year old. They've got all these projects I mentioned in different categories. And what they do is for every time a transaction goes through what they call the blockchain, which is just how they verify things. Blockchain is kind of like a railroad tracks, if you think of it in terms that way. And every time something goes through a toll booth of that thing, somebody has to have activated that toll booth, which then registers a transaction. And because you registered that transaction, you get a reward for it in the form of a token. So you got mined a token. It'd be similar if I owned a credit card machine at a McDonald's sitting there, and every time somebody swiped that credit card machine, you don't know how it works, but the credit card transaction went through your bank. You gave money to your bank, and they verified it through the credit card you're using. But the person who owned that credit card machine got a little tiny piece of that.
Right.
And what happens is over a period of multiple times this happening, depending on volume and stuff, those tokens can really kick out. And based on the amount of projects or projects backing that specific token, the value of that traditionally goes up. So, in a nutshell, I buy a license. It's cloud mining software. I don't have to have anything that's at my house or anything like that. And every day I can go into my phone and I can check my results and see how many tokens were mined in this project today, this one today, this one today. And if I wanted to liquidate those tokens today, I could on the open market. And again, not investor advice. But I believe that the value of these things, what's going to happen is people start to become more educated on our platform and what we're doing with these things. Sky's the limit. I think these things are going to move. The decimal point's going to start moving pretty heavily. And I mean, I'm watching one of our projects in the last week. I think it's gone up by almost 115% in this past week. And I haven't done anything besides. It's kind of addicting sometimes to log into your app on your phone and go, holy moly, that was a good day. I watched a guy send me a screenshot from the day before and yesterday, and his bank account went up $322,000 in a day.
Wow.
And that's not like the norm, but then a lot of people are looking at these things because they're just looking to diversify, protect some of the current wealth they have. Maybe they do gold and silver. Maybe they do stocks. Maybe they do real estate, whatever. That's kind of how I looked at it. So I was just looking at, hey, this kind of makes sense. Commodity backed. I know what some of these are. And I think that, and I'm sorry. And Jeff, here's the deal. I give you permission to interrupt me because I can sometimes ramble on. Okay.
No, that's all right. You're providing really great information. I mean, you're at the level up here. I'm at the level down here because we're continually learning as we go along because things are changing, things are being added on, things are being improved, so forth and so on. So, but this is really important information, especially for my audience because, and I'm going to share this real quick because I unfortunately lost my entire retirement between 2001 and 2008 because I was not really aware and really on top of kind of what was going on. And that changed me drastically in the last couple of years. I have been more open to, receiving information and getting out of my comfort zone because I hated money. I hated finances, even though, money everything revolves around money. But I needed to be more open because so many people are afraid to talk about money. And this is so important because it gives us options. And this is what life is all about. What are your options today? Are you on options of $100 a month or $100,000 a month? So this is something that people need to be aware of, especially with what you said earlier about waking up to the reality of what is happening behind the scenes that people are totally unaware of. I was, but these people like you and I'm involved with multiple projects like this to diversify my portfolio, and it's great information. So go ahead, finish
Well,
up, wrap up.
as you were speaking, you triggered triggered a thought that I had. The other to kind of look at where we're at in history is the other thing, because of my marketing background, because I had to obviously learn how to do marketing.
Sure.
The number one thing a marketer can do is actually check data, because people lie, but numbers don't, right? And
Yes.
what's happening too a lot of times is people are watching these news cycles that go through, and they tell you one thing. I mean, it's the same story as a slick magician on stage that
Mhm.
they put the hot assistant over here, and you're supposed to look at her, where over here they're the real trick is happening. And that's
Exactly.
what's happening right now in my opinion, in the current state. Like, if you look, like, even right now, if you look at what's happening, there's been, and then there are some shady things, don't get me wrong with that. I mean, that people do shady stuff with when you're talking, billions and trillions of dollars. But some of these things that we're starting to experience, it's like you have to take personal ownership of learning these things. I mean, that's what I see. I see it all the time. I get calls all the time, people asking me for advice, asking, what should I do? And I just start to ask them, and it's literally like they've just, well, grandpa did this, mom and dad did this. I mean, some people are literally no farther ahead than sticking money under their mattress. When we were taught
Yeah.
that, you were taught that when you're a little kid, like
Right.
have a piggy bank, and literally a physical piggy bank. Well, if you look at what the dollar has done with inflation and how it's just absolutely plummeted, and then you look at what some of these regulators are starting to do with the Fed and things like that,
Yep.
I mean, in my opinion, I think they try to say this stuff to make the markets move, because broke people are typically moved by emotion. Wealthy
Right.
people are moved and take action because of data. And a lot of times, if you can create a news cycle that puts a bad spin on it, and you would create the emotional selling, and you know that your company is secretly all going to go
Mhm.
digital in next year, and you would love to have, instead of, man, if Bitcoin was just at $25, knowing that it's probably going to get over 100, if we could put out a news cycle spin that would make a bunch of people sell off to drive that price down, we can come in and drop, I mean, it's
Right.
using the media to manipulate price, in my opinion. And I'll just stick with that, and we can go on and
Yeah.
on.
That's
You know
that.
where I
That
stand on
that
that.
that definitely is another story for another time. But
Yeah.
so let's go hop into this IX Global and this amazing relationship with this very cool satellite technology that locates precious metals. And this is what this is all about. And I go back to my renewable energy days. I was with a renewable energy company. We did sustainable cleanups and working with different industries. And I befriended somebody down in South America whose entire village was uprooted because of corporate greed coming in and setting up plants and digging for oil and then letting it spill all over the area and get into the rivers down there and just destroying it. And this technology is changing the face of the world here. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah. So back to my story of how I was introduced to this commodity backed crypto. After I'd called my buddy back and asked him some more details, he said, well, it kind of all stems from the fact that these guys they've got crypto experience for 15 or so years. These guys were in mining crypto when it was $5 a coin. So they made some bank. They invested in different things, blah, blah, blah. And he said that they also got into mining, like real mining, physical mining, gold, right? So they actually had created relationships with some people in Uganda, Africa, about doing this. Well, then because technology is different today than it was years ago, right?
Sure.
Obviously, they have a satellite scan technology that's it would be similar to like an MRI of the Earth, that they can actually identify the frequencies of the elemental table of different things, whether it's
Right.
just soil or whether it's steel or aluminum and so on, and they can literally pinpoint where these deposits, I guess you could say, or veins of gold within 6 centimeters on this thing.
Amazing.
So if you think about this, back to what you just said, I mean, instead of displacing or destroying villages, this is something that could potentially save a country a lot of heartache, right? And a lot of people
Yeah,
being,
absolutely.
because they can identify it and say this. And so they started doing that in actually, I'm sorry, it wasn't Uganda, it was Ghana. It is where they started that. And so what they did is they started that there. Well, we just went over there. It would have been about 5 months ago, maybe 4 months ago. Our whole crew went over there, and they went through and said, hey, they thought, the locals thought, that they had some gold and some potentially bauxite, or I think it's aluminum is how they make it, is through bauxite and something like that, and said, hey, would you do a scan? And they found one of the largest deposits, and it was just right where they had said they thought it was a little farther over. They never would have found it. And so they signed it, I think it was around a $62 or $65 million contract with us. And they're using that technology, our scan technology, as the primary way that these miners can come in, because they've had other countries come in. One that would be an Eastern country that just comes in and destroys everything. Now, you then go take this a little farther down the road, and a couple months later, they go into, I believe it was Nevada, and there was an oil well in Nevada, very large one, and they pretty much thought that they had tapped it out. And they hired our guys to come in and do the scan technology. And literally, it was not super far away from where that deposit was. It was like down and to the left was one of the largest oil deposits in the United States that they had just identified. And so this is an important part of the story, is because of that, and a lot of the cost that goes to these oil wells is in finding it, is in the drilling and that kind of thing.
Exactly.
The companies, the oil well rigs and the companies that run those are signing contracts with us and paying out a royalty for the oil actually coming out. So here's the other part of the story is, you and I, if we were getting royalties of oil, you wouldn't call them up and say, hey, you owe me a barrel of oil. What are you going to do with that? Right?
Exactly.
So how they're rewarding us for the tokenomics and the ecosystem of our licenses is in the form of the rewards. So the oil is the reward part of it. So you got the oil that is reward part of it. And then you move that to the point that we're getting paid tokens every single day. Every single day we get rewards for this, that I think is going to eventually have on. So if you look at what we have, I think we have maybe 15 or so wells that are already done, that are on contract and all done and putting out royalties. But they already made the announcement that they got contracts with 150 new ones, and and so on. So anyhow, that's kind of a little longer winded thing, but that's really what it is. It's a satellite technology, has the ability to MRI the Earth. I mean, you can show somebody a video of them doing one in a gold area where they thought there was gold, and it is a 3D scan rendering, and they can actually go like this and move it around
Right.
And see exactly where to pinpoint and where to find these gold reserves. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah, so if anybody's watching, reach out to me and I'll send you a link to where you can see that video. So it's very, very cool. What do I have? I think I've got 26 licenses at this particular point. I'm very, very excited about the future and this long-term investment, because it's doing so much better than the stock market, for sure. And share your three most favorite product or projects that you're involved with.
That's the tough one. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I would say the one that's actually called the debt token itself, which is the utility token. Now, the utility token is basically the main token that's going to be the L1 token that will be on the exchanges, that all other things. So it's kind of like the mothership, right? And
Right.
that one is really bringing some significant value. And that's the one I actually was just mentioning that's, increased at 100 and some percent over the last week or so. Okay. And
I'll
I'm
have to
not going to,
check. I'll have to check my numbers because I've got 2 licenses.
okay. So you're probably doing all right. So that's one. The other one that I find they're all doing well,
Right.
but the other one that I found fascinating that I think is going to be pretty substantial is the grow. It's called grow, and it's GRW, and it has to do with high yield agriculture. But what I found out, and I went to an event we had in Punta Cana about a month ago, and it was just a private group and the people from that group and our groups and so on, and we were able to meet there for a couple of days. There was only about 100 of us there, and I didn't understand this, and so there's a lot of people that enjoy what we would call plant medicine. Okay, plant medicine, specifically Colorado. If you haven't got my quotes yet and understood this,
Oh, got it.
and right. And so it's a massive, massive, massive industry in the hemp market.
Yeah.
And so what these guys were showing is that they have tokenized some of these grow facilities that I'm talking huge. They showed us videos of these huge places, acres and acres. And it was just amazing how well that they were doing. And what they're doing is they're implementing that into the ecosystem. They also had a guy there that, and I won't say the name of the company, that he had a company that they explained that he was launching they were kind of the gummy section. And I kind of joke around a lot about that. A lot of times didn't take it serious enough, but I didn't realize how much benefit a lot of these things have, the plant medicines have for people with
Sure.
like PTSD, which he was a former military guy, special ops
Oh
guy.
yeah.
And he had sold his company. He had a company previous. He sold for $508 million, and he was now starting this plant medicine company with these gummies. But they were only going to take transactions, they believed, through this specific grow token.
Oh wow.
And they were explaining to us that they believed that token would be something that everyone would eventually use in dispensaries. And so my wheels started really turning. And they're like, no, so picture this. Somebody goes into a dispensary and just takes their phone and pops up their tokens and goes bang. And because that transaction happened, boom, tokens were released. And so I got that. So last one. So that's two, and you asked for three.
Yeah.
This one just launched, and it's called DCM, which stands for data center mining. So what they're also doing with some of our projects is they're starting to overlap each other and giving benefits on each one. Like, so here's an example. When somebody has a gas well, a natural gas well, so we have a token, it's a NatG,
Right.
and it's the natural gas one. And when a lot of these companies, they do things called flares, which are like burn-offs of excess gas. They do it with oil wells because maybe they just want the oil with the gas. What our company just did is they contacted these data mining centers, which are the people that are mining Bitcoin, altcoins, and so on. And they're going to allow them to tap into these areas that have these flares and hundreds of miles of piping and connect their data centers there and use that gas for free to create and mine these Bitcoin. By doing that, guess what the reward is? The royalty is off of them allowing us to use that free energy, them to use the free energy, which creates value there. So that one, the DCM, is solving a problem, which is high energy cost, eco-friendly because of the way they're doing it. And they're going to pay royalties both in the tokens and potentially in, small portions of Bitcoin, that kind of thing. And that's then helping the other NatG, the natural gas one, and potentially tapping in also to the black gold. And, and they've got other projects. And I mean, it just, I learned some stuff this week that just, it was just, I told my wife, I was like, we have to figure out what we're going to do with all this. Like, I mean, like
Yeah.
there's some projects that literally could put people in positions to go buy islands. Like if they do what I think they can do, again, this is just me speculating. This is me just thinking outside the box.
It's the potential's there.
Potential's there, which,
That's the thing.
and you can't cash potential. You can only cash what exists and what's real. And so I would suggest too, don't ever put money in anything you can't lose. Never put
Right.
money in because you're down and out and you need to, put 5,000 on black. That's not how this works. So anyhow, that's
Yeah.
and I could keep going on that project. Maybe we'll do it later.
Yeah, no, that's these are very, very exciting projects. And I'm gonna digress a little bit here and go off the question thing that I sent you. But we're really in a unique situation here because we are coming in where we have an advantage by people coming to us, because these licenses can go for 30, 40, $50,000, but we have a special relationship being able to bring people on board for 250, 500, 1,000, or even $5,000 rather than 30, 50, $100,000. So share that unique relationship that we have between IX Academy and then IX or Deadbox, I should say, because if you come in from a different, I'll say, if you come in from Avenue B, you're paying full price, versus if you come in through Avenue A that Mike and I are aligned with, then you're going to get a discounted option.
Absolutely. So based on what you were just saying so our company IX is primarily a company that teaches trading. Like it's just a platform. It's a subscription based platform. And they did, in their first year, they did I think it was right around $4 million. The second year they did over 20 million. And last year, after they started to introduce us to the ability to purchase these licenses / these nodes and market them and actually refer them to people, our company did 207 million, which is just, that's just a rocket ship, right?
Yeah,
and we're just getting started. I mean, their prediction for this year, their goal was $500 million, but I think we'll crush that. I mean, the reason I think we're going to crush that is yesterday I was on a Zoom call at noon with an ambassador of a country, and how he just gave the go ahead. And I was on there with corporate and a couple of other people that they want to sign exclusive rights to do the mining in there. And I can't tell you the country until it's official.
Sure.
And they have then they also want to offer the tokenization of that project to their countrymen, which is over 12 million of them in that country alone. And they're connected to the other ones. I mean, so if you think about the magnitude of just that,
sure,
word comes out about that, it's pretty good. So we have the ability to purchase the licenses, like you said, at wholesale pricing versus retail pricing, and that's what's been nice about it. And there's no, I mean, and what they did is they just recently, about a month or two ago, they realized that this was something that they wanted to go global with. And so what they did is they created an aspect, which I think is brilliant, in our company, called micro nodes. So like a full license would be like you and I would pay, let's say $2,000 for a license that dealt with water, and that would mine a specific amount of tokens every day, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But there were people that might be in the Philippines that would love to jump on board with something like this, but they just can't. They can't put that's an annual income, right?
Exactly.
So they created what they called micro nodes, which someone can buy 1/100th of a perpetual for $50 in a market, and they have now purchased a small asset and small digital asset that daily is producing rewards. It's less obviously than the 2000,
sure,
and so on. And so that's what's been nice, is they now allowed us to open this up to the international market. So when you start thinking about that, because a lot of people are just conditioned to be stuck in their US, if this probably goes out worldwide, but in their US thinking that, oh, well, it's, I got a buddy here. But we're talking on a global scale, the amount of
Yeah.
people that want to be tapped into the cryptocurrency space, but just don't understand it. But now when you've got commodities backing it, and you can actually, we can point to stuff. We can show proof of concept. We can show actual
Right.
wells mining. We got videos of guys going to the mines. We got a group of people that went to Uganda and did all this stuff there. Did I say Ghana? It's Ghana.
You
I keep
got it.
saying Uganda. But so that's what's so exciting is we're on the cutting edge of something unique,
Yeah.
something new. No one has what we're doing, and I really do believe that we're potentially in front of in front of the wave. And so I've learned in my career, specifically over the last 15 years, that is one thing: is if you can get in front of the masses and become an early adopter, exponential growth can happen literally overnight. And it's a fact that it's happened in the past for people, and why not us?
Exactly. Absolutely. So we're coming up. Actually, went over my 30-minute time here, and that's okay because this information is so valuable, and this has been part of my own journey, where I focus primarily on the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual, but never did anything with financial. Now I'm doing financial, and over the last 5 to 6 months, and this is really, really important. So if there was one piece of advice that you could give anybody that's watching who is looking for that glimmer of hope, whether it's from a personal or a professional perspective, what would that be?
A glimmer of hope. Well, I think education, proper education, is probably
Yeah.
the way if you can increase your knowledge, you can increase your ability to make proper decisions, in a nutshell. And so to me, I was early on, I was skeptical, and that was fine. But at the same time, I learned my lesson a long time ago not to be cynical.
Correct.
Skepticism is okay. Being a cynic is a joke. And so
Right.
doing that, and then I look around, and I see people that are all just conditioned to do the same thing over and over and just be robots, sheeple,
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call them. And they just go with the flow, and they don't
Right.
step out of the box. And typically the largest successes are outside your comfort zone. And I told my wife this when I first looked at this. I said, I gotta learn this. And so I listen to conference calls. I call them conference calls, Zooms, videos that are put
Sure.
out on our subjects. I've joined Telegram groups to learn this stuff. And all of a sudden it's just like the puzzle. When you throw a puzzle down on your table, it's overwhelming at first, right?
Sure.
Especially if it's like a 2,000 piece puzzle. But this one, in my opinion, is like a 100-piece puzzle with not such a too complicated of a picture. That if you take those 100 pieces and you just take your time, eventually all of a sudden it gets easier to put the pieces together.
Yeah.
And then you're like, man, this was good. And I was telling my wife that on a bike ride yesterday, that I said, hey, I really feel like I'm getting this now. And that she goes, man, I haven't seen you this excited in quite a while. And she goes, I know what happens when you get excited. I'm like, I do too, but it's
Yeah.
legitimate excitement. It's educational backed excitement. So can't think of what I was just going to say. I have a reason to be optimistic. I literally, because
Absolutely.
of the education, I have a reason to be optimistic as to what we have our hands on, and so do other people if they just take the time and do a little due diligence.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And you use the word education. And what I love about IX Academy is that there is a inside educational series that is there, and it's brilliantly put together, giving you this step by step of education, from an overall, I'm going to say, holistic perspective, since I'm holistic mental fitness. But it really is, it has educated myself and brought more awareness to the possibilities. And as I mentioned earlier in the show, where finances is really the number one stressor for most people. I know it was for me for many, many years after I lost everything. Now that whole, that has completely changed. And it's changing for many people that you're working with, many people that I'm working with, and we just need to get that information out. So, Mike, I can't thank you enough for taking the time, to be my guest today. You brought so much value, and maybe we can do a part 2 at some point down the road, because there's a lot of things happening in the community of IX Global and people getting educated. And it will definitely provide a vehicle for those that are interested. Of course, it's an option. It's either yes or no. But for anybody that's really interested in getting some more information about the future of digital currency, where this IX Global, IX Academy, DebtBox community is going, please reach out to me at any time. The information is in the scrolling banner. And remember this, I believe we all should be living an abundance and optimum wellness physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Again, financially. I woke up to this just recently in the last couple of years, and now I'm really pursuing this because it is so, so important. And lastly, mental fitness is the new physical health. So thanks, Mike, and we'll see you on the inside next time. Have a good
Thanks,
one.
Jeff. Appreciate it.
Thank you.